Okay, everybody. So here is what we're going to talk about today for grammar. We're going to get a few more examples of some Halloween poems or poems that'll kind of get you thinking about what you want to do for your poem as an example. I know we read through a couple of them yesterday, and then a few of you all also have kind of seen these videos before, or you've kind of seen parts of them. So real quick, I'm just going to backtrack so we can get in the same kind of headspace here. Basically, with this poem, we're not talking about all the details today as far as what you want to do. You don't even really necessarily have to have your idea nailed down yet, but we're just trying to kind of expose ourselves to more of these examples. Obviously, like the Frankenstein makes a sandwich and different examples like that are pretty good starting parts and starting pieces for this. I'll just go ahead and tell you all, depending on how worried about this you are, or not worried about this, or how creative or not creative you think you are, you really do kind of fall into one of three categories. Okay. The one category would be similar to those poems that come from the book Nightmares, which is the first book that we kind of talked about. It's kind of like Purple and Gray. But basically, with that book, you have a lot of just one character poems. So, again, it'll be like a poem about just a witch, or just a werewolf, or just skeletons. So, that's kind of a sweet spot for a lot of people because they like to just pick one theme and then just make different rhyming words to kind of go with their poem for that. The other category, it's kind of in the middle where Frankenstein makes a sandwich. I feel like kind of falls into that middle category because you have a Halloween character, or you have kind of a spooky character with Frankenstein, but he's in an unfamiliar setting, or he's kind of doing an unfamiliar thing. So in that case, it's Frankenstein, but he's trying to get ingredients for a sandwich. Or we've said, I don't care if it's a ghost, working at Starbucks. So if it's a funny kind of setting or just kind of a different setting, that's fine. And the third option is similar to what you guys are going to see with these two videos today, which is you have a little bit more of a detailed background story. You have a lot more going on. So again, one of those three categories where, again, you just kind of pick one main theme and you make a poem about just that one theme or character. You do kind of a hybrid where you have a familiar character like a vampire, but you put them in kind of just a goofy situation or a new situation. And then you have the third option, which again is kind of like these poems you're going to hear today, which is a totally new idea or a totally different concept, just using kind of fear or Halloween or haunted house or whatever as the backdrop. Okay, but still in a poem form. So to just give you guys a preview of these poems, depending on the order in which you watch these, the original poem, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, that is this Simpsons interpretation right here. In that poem, you have a character who obviously is kind of tormented by something. It's the death of his beloved, whose name is Lenore. Of course, in the cartoon, in the Simpsons cartoon, it's going to be Marge that's going to represent Lenore. But you don't really know the rest of the background in this story. You don't know if the main character has killed her. You don't know if she just died and he's just really sad. But at one point, he feels like somebody has come to visit him, or somebody's knocking on the door. He doesn't know if it's a ghost or her spirit. And then this raven literally enters his home, and he thinks that the raven just might be something that's sent there to kind of bother him or to remind him of his lost love. Or a lot of people think that maybe he's guilty if he had something to do with her death, that maybe that's his guilt really eating at him. So this Simpsons interpretation is just kind of a funny version, but it really is a word for word reading of the original Edgar Allan Poe poem. So I just like it because it's obviously kind of a different twist, but using the same backdrop. The second one here, The Nightmare Before Christmas. For anybody that's seen the movie is not exactly the same as the poem, but the poem is actually written by the same guy, Tim Burton. So he actually wrote the poem years before he ever directed the movie. And the poem itself, again, just was an idea of his that he made up for his kids. So he created this character, Jack Skellington, who's supposed to be kind of the main guy in Halloween Land. But at some point, Jack is becoming really bored by what he's doing. So he kind of goes walking. He's kind of just searching for something new to do, and he comes upon all these different holidays in the forest. And Christmas happens to be the one that draws his eye. So he goes into the forest and he enters into Christmas land, into Christmas Town. And obviously, for those that have seen the movie, the basic premise is still the same. So Jack takes it upon himself to feel like he's going to host Christmas this year, but he's going to give it a Halloween twist, which obviously doesn't work out very well. So the rest of the poem is about how Jack thinks that he failed or he didn't do a good job. And then Santa Claus comes in and has to really kind of just talk to him and just say, look, you stick to your holiday and I'll stick to mine. Pretty much is the premise of that whole poem. Okay, so again, I don't know the order in which you guys are going to watch all this stuff, but basically this one here and this one here are a bit longer versions of what we talked about yesterday with these shorter poems, just from the other two books. Now to jump ahead for after you guys are done watching these, I do want to have you all start doing some of the planning here. And I'm going to move myself over here real fast. Basically, here's the deal as far as this chart. Okay. On this chart, we are going to add exactly what you see, as much of what we see, and as much as you can, because we have Halloween nouns, Halloween verbs, and Halloween adjectives. Now, first thing, what you guys want to do for this is just get a piece of scrap paper or filler paper or notebook paper and just start building you 3 big old columns. Okay, just 3 columns, one for nouns, one for verbs, and one's for adjectives. Okay, the idea behind this is that you want to kind of build a word bank for yourself in order for your poem to go a little smoother. Okay, because if I just started you all off today and I said, okay, just write a poem with some kind of Halloween theme, there wouldn't be that much effort put into it, or there wouldn't be that much structure. Okay, so I also have these pictures over here as an example. You guys can think of way more Halloween things or Halloween related characters or whatever, but just to get us started here, um, on your filler paper with these nouns, verbs, and adjectives, you can really almost take it through a 3-step process, because what you're going to build this thing for is almost just a word bank for when you start pulling your poem together and you start writing your stanzas, which are basically paragraphs in poetic terminology. But what I'm saying as far as what you see here, what I'm kind of getting at is you can think of all these nouns over here and just start listing them off. And you can think of even more that's over here. But what you can really do is from that noun, you can build off a couple of verbs, or you can definitely build off a bunch of adjectives. Okay, so let me just walk you through this a little bit, and you guys can come up with a lot on your own. So for your Halloween nouns, you could put things like pumpkin, Frankenstein, monster, witch hat, tombstone, gravestone, cemetery, boneyard, right? There's a lot of different interpretations. So ghost, spirit, cat, axe, again, like skeleton, skull, crossbones, cauldron, spider, all these different things. Okay, so what you want to do for this noun column is you want to come up with as many of those as you can. If your noun is like candy for Halloween, that counts. So all these different things that are associated with Halloween or scary stuff or whatever. And I just have images of a few over here, and I know some of them are repetitive, but that just kind of gives you some ideas. And there's no number set on this, my friends, but I will tell you more is better. Okay, so if you end up coming up with 30 nouns, then that's awesome. Okay, if you're telling me you can only come up with like 3 nouns related to Halloween, that's clearly not going to really be up to snuff. Okay, but to go to the second column, then the verbs is a little trickier, but you could think about all different things that go with some of these. Okay, like scaring or lighting the jack-o'-lantern or running through the cemetery or flying on the broomstick or bats flying through the air or the spider crawled down. Okay, so all these verbs, and obviously not a lot of verbs are just specifically Halloween related, but you guys get the point. You could put trick or treating as a verb. You could put walking, running, screaming, shouting, yelling, scaring. Okay, so there's all kinds of verbs, and again, more is better, because you don't know what's going to end up rhyming in your poem, that you could end up using, that is going to really change how it reads and how it looks. Okay, the last one is easy because it's Halloween adjectives. Okay, so that's where you can go through these images and some of these other nouns you guys came up with before, and you can start doing colors like orange, green, black, gray, white. You can do other stuff like scary, frightening, terrifying. There's just numerous adjectives that would go into this category. Okay, so if it's easier for you to think about them independently, like think of a bunch of nouns and then a bunch of different verbs and a bunch of different adjectives, that's fine. But I think a lot of people like to go sideways too, because if you did this ghost, for example, you could do like ghost and you could put like floating, flying, scaring, howling, whatever. And then for the same thing with the ghost, you could put white, you could put spooky, you could put terrifying, all kinds of different things. Okay, so again, that's in a nutshell grammar for today. And you guys are obviously going to view the videos to get some more ideas and then start coming away with this noun, verb, and adjective chart. Okay, so over the next couple of days, we're going to build even more on this. So we're going to do kind of like what's known as a stanza plan, which is how you're going to plan out your paragraphs before you just start writing a poem and just kind of drifting off into nowhere without any kind of plan. This is going to be helpful. Okay. So again, hopefully we have enough examples here so far to get you guys creatively thinking about what you want to do. And then definitely with your nouns, verbs, and adjectives, you want to hang on to that because we're going to definitely make some use of it here over the next couple of days. Okay, so I'll talk to you all very soon. See ya.